Penetrate.
It's Joe and Biggie, Biggie. It's Joe and Biggie, Biggie. Let's lie, let's lie, let's lie. We lie, we lie. Let's lie, let's lie, let's lie. We lie, we lie. I know this is what you guys want to be singing. Yesterday's lie is not today's lie. I know this is what you guys want to be saying, but did Joe really lie about this? I'm going to take you guys through the whole situation and we are going to find out who really lied. So Joe took to his IG live yesterday and addressed the rumors that he was capping about this. Man, roll a clip.
And so when I tell different type of stories in the street and all that, people they ain't really outside. They never was into that life. They could get smacked on the neck, keep it walking, keep it moving. They don't understand when I say these type of stories. And I see Steve Lobel on here, and I told a story on a documentary, I believe Angie Martinez is the host for with Biggie. I went in there and I talked about how I connected Bone Thugs and Harmony with Biggie Smalls to go Bone and Biggie, Bone. And I see it go viral and everybody's like, it's cap. Joe's capping again. Steve Lobel's on here, who's been Bone Thugs manager for 30 years. He's on it. Bro, Bone Thugs and Harmony was the biggest group at the time. Biggest, selling 30 million. They were tight with Tupac. So they didn't want to do the song out of respect for Tupac. But I convinced them to get in the studio with Big and do Bone and Biggie. And they did it. And I'm sure they're happy that I convinced them to do that because it's a legendary song that everybody loves. Now, when I say stories like this, people think I'm capping. I'm lying. Oh, cap, this is cap. I can't make this shit up. Do you want the best stories in hip-hop or no?
So Joe recently was on the Notorious B.I.G. series about life after death with Angie Martinez and told the story. Joe said he was signed to Relativity Records, which was distributing Ruthless Records at the time, and he had a connection with Bone Thugs, and so he got Biggie connected.
Let me ask you a question, right? You guys are all hip-hop historians. Fat Joe tells some stories you don't believe, but then you realize it's the truth, because somebody would say it's a lie.
No, I think we
No,
believe
it's
you.
not.
You're the only one thinks that people don't
it's
believe
fantasy. It sounds like a fantasy. I'm sorry, but it really happened. What you guys want me to do? Like what you want? Yeah, I lived a good life, right? I was f***ing everywhere. And Biggie hit me up and was like, yo, bro, I'm trying to get in touch with your guys. They don't want to do it. They ignoring me. They didn't want to do a song with Biggie. And just for Biggie to think that advanced, because New York wasn't up on Bone Thugs like that. He knew that they was gigantic, and he was like, yo, I need to do a song with them. And I was like, all right, Big. He was like, nah, I know you the plug. You could do it. So I was like, all right, Big, I got you. So then I called them, and they had already been cool with Tupac. And so they was like, yo, Joe, we can't do it. We cool with Tupac. And I'm like, yo, bro, this is B.I.G. Like, you know what it is to do a song with B.I.G. So I convinced them. And shout out Steve Lobel and Bone Thugs and Harmony showed up to the studio and they did the record, Bone and Biggie, Biggie, Bone and Biggie, Biggie. And and so every time I see that picture, I laugh. But that's why we got that. And
So wait, you can't just say, I convinced them. Like, how long did it take? What did you have to say?
I'm Bone Thugs, y'all know I love y'all. I made them go do the song with B.I.G. I don't know how to explain it to you in every other language. They've confirmed, like, yo, you got to go do it. This is my brother.
No, it's not an option
and they're
here?
the happiest people in the world to confirm this because they still touring off that record.
Yeah.
That record's one of the biggest treasures in hip-hop.
Yeah.
And so they happy they listened to Fat Joe when they did that.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I want to bring to your guys' attention is just how uncomfortable Angie Martinez looked and what she said when she said,
No, I think we
No,
believe
it's
you.
not.
You're
Yeah,
the only
but
one
I mean,
thinks that
like,
people
no,
don't
it's
believe you.
fan.
no, we believe you. You're the only one that thinks people don't believe you. I just thought that was really interesting. It doesn't seem like she believes him. So Angie goes on to ask Steve Lobel's account of the situation, and his memory was a little different.
I was at this hotel, and I don't know how Joe found me, but Fat Joe found me and called me and said, hey, Puff's gonna call you. And then Puff called me and said, Big wants to do a song with Bone, and we're at the Record Plant Studios. Can we get them? And at that time, Bone was big, man. You know, they had dropped East 1999, E99, and they had Crossroads out, and they were big, and they were wild. I called them all. The funny thing is, Wishbone had a relationship with Big from when they met them in New York, you know, back then. And Wish wasn't in L.A. at the time. At the time was Crazy, Busy, and Lazy, and Fleshbone was there as well. So I called them all, tracked them down, which was not easy, and they all pulled up one at a time. And I'm glad I just got that call, picked up the phone, and put that together, because that goes down in history and it's iconic.
Mm-hmm. There was some talk about the fact that they had this relationship with Pac, and so then when Big initially asked for them to be on the song, that there was some resistance. Was that true for anybody in the group?
Bone never got caught up in no beef, like with that type of East Coast, West Coast stuff. They were cool with everybody. You know, people would throw their names and stuff like they had beef, but it wasn't no real beef. But when they did that song with Pac, that song was done with Busy Bone. And then Bone got on that song. And that song goes down in history. And then, you know, when Joe called me and then Puff called me about Biggie, there wasn't no resistance. Bone was like, man, hell yeah. And I'm just blessed to be part of history by connecting the dots and doing the business for them.
So Steve is obviously saying there was no resistance and that Bone Thugs never got in the middle of the beef between Biggie and Pac, and there wasn't no loyalty situation where we can't do a song with Biggie because we did a song with Pac already. But if you guys remember, during Joe's live, he said Steve was in the building in the comments, and Steve didn't refute what Joe had to say. Also, Steve's account of the situation is that Joe did call, but to just give him a heads up that Puffy was going to call him, and Steve took care of the rest as far as getting Bone Thugs to do the song. Now, when Lazy was asked about this, his story lined up more with Steve Lobel's. He tells the story of attending Russell Simmons' party, and Bone Thugs got into a fight with Wu-Tang Clan, and Biggie ended up saving them by getting them out of the club. So they had built a little bit of a rapport at this time already in 1995. So when Lazy talks about the song, he said they were all up for it, and there was no issues with Biggie.
When Steve Lobel put it on the table, was like, yo, Puff wants y'all to do a song with Big, and it was on and cracking because we was living on the West Coast, so and Big was out there on the West Coast, and at that time it was like Pac had just got murdered, and for him to be out there was like, and we was moving around like real free-hearted and everything. It was a weird time in hip hop, put it like that.
Yeah,
it was real.
I had heard that you guys, you weren't sure if you wanted to do the record. Maybe you could say if this is true or not, but that you guys weren't sure about if you wanted to do the record because of your relationship with Pac and how hostile everything was at that time. Is that true?
I mean, our relationship with Pac was the same as it was with Biggie. We was fans of both of those artists. He was fresh off Ready to Die, you know what I'm saying? So Juicy and all that was bumping on the radio. Like, it was an honor for us. We was trying to build our legacy. So whatever they had going on, people mistook us for being West Coast artists, but we from Cleveland, Ohio, you know what I mean? So we Midwest, we was always neutral. It was always about the music for us.
Now, this is where things get really interesting, because every time Bone is asked about Notorious Thugs, they never mention Joe being involved, if Joe is not there talking about it. Here's the timeline. Interview with Vlad in 2014. Busy said Steve Lobel and Diddy set it up and they were neutral. Interview with Vlad in 2015. Wish, Crazy, and Flesh, and there is no mention of Joe. They say it got set up because Biggie called Steve. Interview with Hot 97. Crazy in 2017, and he doesn't mention Fat Joe having any involvement whatsoever. He says Diddy called Steve Lobel and they jumped at the opportunity. Interview with BET 2017. Busy and Crazy does it for I Talk to Biggie, and they say that Steve Lobel brought it to them and they jumped up at the opportunity, didn't express any concern of needing to be convinced by Fat Joe. 2020, on Busy Bone's personal YouTube channel, he said Steve Lobel called him and didn't mention anything about being reluctant to do it or that Joe had called them to convince them. But back in 2018, when Joe interviewed Bone Thugs for Coca Vision on Tidal, they appeared to agree with Joe that he did set it up and that they needed to be convinced to do it because of their loyalty to Tupac.
Now, I don't know if y'all know, just like I say, I'm the sixth member of Bone Thugs and Harmony, but Biggie knew that too. So I get a phone call from Biggie. Biggie was my brother, rest in peace. And Biggie was like, yo, Joe, I need Bone Thugs on the song. And because I know y'all, this is many years later, nobody's gonna get upset because I know y'all were hesitant at first because y'all was like, yo, we know Pac, you know, we work with Pac. And I went in on y'all and I was like, yo, this ain't no beef, this ain't no nothing. Y'all need to get with Big. And y'all did it. And boy, ain't y'all happy y'all did the Bone and Biggie?
Man, that's a timeless piece right there, man. That motherfucker ain't never going nowhere, man.
100 years from now, that's
know
like
what I mean?
Beatlemania, my nigga.
Right.
For real.
But
Definitely.
I had to go hard on y'all and be like, yo, listen, this is Biggie, this don't got no beef. I don't know what kind of shit. Steve was there, he got that classic fucking picture, Steve. You put that shit up every month on your We Work. Right? His hair, he got no fucking, his hair was, this before he realized he had to go bald and shit.
For real.
And that motherfucker Steve was in there in that pic.
Young
And
Puffy.
a young Puffy.
Yeah.
And
Steve
man, I thank
Everybody.
y'all for believing me, but man, it's a piece of hip hop history.
You know, that was an alley-oop.
You
right
know,
there.
Joe also interviewed Lazy Bone back in 2020 on IG Live, and Lazy again confirmed this.
When it came to Bone Thugs selling 30 million, 50 million records, the only way to get in touch with Bone Thugs if you was from New York was through Fat Joe.
Absolutely.
And it's crazy, right, Lazy, because with the song with you and Biggie, with y'all and Biggie, Biggie knew he was smart and he worked me. He was like, yo, Joe, you gotta get your homies, the Bone Thugs. And I was like, all right, no problem. Those are my peoples, and Biggie's #1 and y'all #1. And I went to y'all and y'all was like, yo, Joe, we cool with Pop.
Right.
And I was like, yo, it's hip hop, you know, it's you and y'all got the record with Biggie, but you know, y'all should do this record with y'all got the record with Pac, but y'all should do this record with Biggie. And thank God we made it happen. Y'all showed up and it's Bone and Biggie.
Right.
Bone and Biggie. Bone and Biggie. But not less
Rod, hey.
ride, let's ride. He hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo.
That was that plug, though. You know, you was the plug, man. Steve Lobel, man.
Now, if that wasn't enough, in 2022, Joe posted this picture on IG of Bone Thugs with Biggie, Diddy, Lil Kim, and himself and said, fun fact, I got a call from Big, and he said, Joe, I need your boys Bone on a song. I said, say no more. Bone and Biggie, Bone and Biggie. And Lazy ended up reposting the picture with Joe's caption and said, I appreciate you, Joey Crack. So it's a weird situation because it's unclear if Joe was really involved with it, because at the times it seems like Bone agreed that he was, but when he's not there, they don't bring him up. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this, man. What do you guys think is the truth? Put your thoughts down in the comments and make sure you like and subscribe and stay connected with Panda Chop News. Peace.